that about
that he's getting clicks from his Sigma 3514 Art. Is that your right? So I got the 35 F2 contemporary Sony E mount. So they have this set of primes they've been making that are like around F2, most of them, maybe 2.5. Yeah. I think they're mostly 2 though. And they're slightly smaller, manual aperture, which is really fun. But the 35 had this crazy distortion. So all my lines had a bow in the middle, even when slightly further back. So I was like, so I just ended up getting the Sony 35-1.8.
On a 30, you were getting a like barrel distortion on a 35 millimeter lens. Was it like? It
wasn't what you would think. It was.
Was it more like fisheye-ish?
If here's your lines, right? So instead of like this, it wasn't like that. It was the opposite. It was kind of like
pin cushiony or not.
Yeah,
that's weird.
And no matter what I did with the setup, moving the desks, the table, the lines, just all the lines just weren't. It always looked like the table was slightly jacked up on one side.
Do you think it was just a bad
cut? Poof, goes away. I don't know. It seems like a really nice lens. Or Sony's doing weird stuff. You know how like the with Sony lenses on Sony cameras, if you turn off all the assists, the image is awful on some lenses.
Really?
Like there's all these Sony in the menu. There's lens compensation.
Yeah.
Stuff. You turn all that off, and a lot of Sony lenses look absolutely terrible.
Yeah, because they're dog shit. It's because because they have all the metadata and everything, and
so
they can handle. Yeah. All right. Well, now that we've been talking for 5 minutes with everybody here, and we're live, welcome to another episode of Camera and Flask. Okay, cool. So welcome everybody, Chris, Harrison, Small Brown Fox, Brandon, anybody else that's here. Good to have you on the show. It's been a while, gentlemen, right? I feel like I was on a family vacation, then I went down to a job. Ben has been at the, Ukrainian-Polish border picking up orphans, literally amazing. And, we've been doing our stuff, and here we are coming in early here with Brandon. Thank you so much for the super chat, for all of your efforts, and Ben's gas money for making border runs. That is sweet.
Oh,
yeah,
that is sweet. Thank you.
We owe Ben a lot of whiskey, by the way. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, Chris, was it last week or last time we were live? Dropped some massive Canadian coin for Ben's
unbelievable.
Gas money, so we'll have to figure out a way to get that over to him.
Man, thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can't remember how much. A flight to NAB. Or helping with the flight.
Cool.
All right. Well, good. Well, why don't we start with a drink, and then let's get into some chat about rumors and equipment. And we're very close to NAB happening. BSC starting this week, and want to start with you, Caleb? You want to tell us what you're drinking today? Is that cool?
Okay, sure. This week, let's see if I can do things properly here and have a nice second camera angle. This week we're doing some Irish whiskey.
Yeah, Redbreast, not bad.
Yep. Single pot, 12 years.
I love it.
And I don't know a lot about Irish whiskey, but it's been really nice. It's been very mild, super easy to drink. I've had, Jameson and whatnot, so this was my first like big boy purchase when it comes to Irish whiskey, and I think I like it. I think, granted, I haven't had a ton of Irish whiskey, but I would say overall I'm still more of a Scotch fan. But it's different. It's definitely different. It's definitely very easy to drink and, very nice. But overall, I think I'd go for more of a Scotch. But
I would check out the Teelings, and also there's like green and yellow spot. There was another Irish I had recently that was very good. I'll have to find the name of that. But there's some really nice whiskeys coming out of Ireland too. and they sure know how to drink them. That's for sure. Speaking of Irish, we've got somebody over here, like myself, but even more so, who has Irish blood. That is Ben
and a passport
Barden.
now. I'm official. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's find out what you're drinking, you
Not Irish whiskey
bastard. No, I know. Go ahead.
So I believe this.
Ooh,
I know what that is. The one I can't pronounce. How do you pronounce it? Bunenbach or something? What is it?
Bunhabane? I don't know. I was
Yeah.
Bunhabane. I was hoping you were going to rescue me and know how that's pronounced. So this was a gift from Jago, who I work with all the time. And last time I was over in the UK, he gave this to me just as I was leaving, and it's really good. It's quite weird. It's an Islay whiskey, which is normally quite peated. This is non-peated, but really, really tasty. All sorts of stuff going on in it. Quite salty, but just without the smokiness. Which
right. So the salty makes sense.
Yeah. But it's really lovely. I'm very impressed.
Well, I am drinking today a new whiskey for me, which is this Aaron 10-year, which I got in California when I was down on my job. It's quite lovely. It is not peaty at all, and it is very vanilla-y, very smooth, and I do not dislike it at all. It's from the Isle of Arran, and
yeah, I've been to that distillery.
Really? Well, it's delicious, I have to say. It hits a spot. I think this is going to be a great summer scotch, is what I think. This one, let me get back to here. Sorry, I think it's going to be a great summer scotch because it's not too heavy and it drinks nicely. So to everybody in the chat and to my very good friends, cheers. Slàinte.
Cheers, everybody.
Delicious. Okay. So, with that, let's talk about stuff. First of all, we do have BSC and we have NAB coming up both this month. I would say that they're no problem. Probably the first time in a very long time that I would say that we have trade shows that are happening in earnest, right? These are not just sort of, okay, it's going to be a hybrid event or it's happening, it's not happening. It's for real. I mean, the party invites are being sent out. The one thing that's very different is there's not a lot of buzz about new equipment. There's some chatter, but there isn't a ton. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks. But I think we want the chat to be engaged. I think we want to talk about some rumors, things that we think might happen. What is happening here? Come on, Slavic. You're killing me here.
Yeah.
Slavic, are you going to NAB?
Going on, Slavic.
Thank you, Slavic.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Slavic is he's intimately tied to that country, as you know. So we had a chat when I was on my vacation, and good guy. And hopefully we'll see him soon. But you've got a lot of drinks waiting for you here when you come to visit, Ben, at the very least. But if there's any way, he's going to NAB. I don't know, Ben. Ben, maybe I can get a room with 2 beds or something, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. I don't know. I doubt it's going to happen. It's so soon, but
when is it? When does it start? I don't think I have any weekends.
So it's a Sunday to Wednesday. So it's officially people will be arriving on Saturday the 23rd. The show starts on the 24th, which is a Sunday, and it will be the first year that the show will really happen on the Sunday. I think South Hall is out. I think it's just Central and maybe North
over the whole show.
That's what I understand. I really don't have the lay of the land. But
that's too bad. Although
I hang in Central,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I always hang out in Central for the most part.
Me too.
Anyway.
But there's some weird stuff in South that I've always liked.
Yeah. I don't have a hotel yet.
I mean,
Slavic,
Black Magic's going to.
I don't even know if I'm
Being
for sure
central?
going. Yeah, that would be interesting because they're always hanging in that
Always
old
south.
Apple spot. They took over the Apple location, which used to be right when you come into South on the right-hand side. And then it used to be Avid and Apple yelling at each other across the way and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, maybe we'll get a Scion 2. Maybe that's the big camera for NAB. All right, let's start talking. Watch yourself, small brown fox. I don't want to get demonetized here. You're already getting into things with Slavic and I spooning in bed at NAB. It's disturbing. Okay, so what do we think? I'm going to start with Ben. Do you have any feelings on what we might see at NAB?
Honestly, for the first time I can remember, no, I have absolutely no inkling. And I've not really, like I said, there's not been a huge amount of buzz about product. I just think companies have got out of that being a thing that new launches are pinned to anymore. That was already happening before the pandemic. That had already started. And that you had that weird, was it kind of July or August when you had that kind of week where everything started getting released. So I don't know. Blackmagic, maybe something. They still tend to stick to that. I'm hoping a new version of Resolve. But other than that, I'm camera-wise, then big stuff. I don't know.
Caleb, any thoughts? And the chat, please start. While Slavic is talking about sporking, which sounds like that would hurt, as opposed to spooning. What do you got for me, Caleb?
I did hear a rumor from another person on YouTube. They even started a live stream. I'm trying to remember who started a live stream to like count down until they think they're going to release another version of Resolve as well as a new camera. But we'll have to wait and see. It has been a while. It's been pretty quiet. I think people even try to like look back at their history and figure out how often they release cameras and they're due, I guess. I guess if we stick with cameras for a second, I mean, Canon and Sony, I think they're pretty solid. I don't know if we're going to see anything there. I doubt it. Fuji, it's been a while. It's been real quiet over in Fuji land, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting if they maybe come out with some lenses or a camera. Someone mentioned XH2. Otherwise, I can't think of any camera stuff. I think it was Chris said that Varicam is dead now. They're discontinuing that, which is interesting. That marks the death of the last Panasonic cinema camera, or the only, I guess. So yeah, interesting times. That's about all I got though on the camera front. It'll be interesting to see what else might come out. I know Aperture is going to do launches and carry on their tradition of rocking stuff at NAB. So
yeah, and interestingly, they just released a bunch of new lights, tubes, and mats. So it's clearly not going to be that, which is and releasing them so close.
They didn't. That was Amaran.
No.
For those who don't know and have been confused by that whole thing, here's the deal. Yes, Aperture had a line of lights that were called Amaran. So they had Amaran and Lightstorm. Amaran is now its own company, and essentially Amaran is now Aperture, and Aperture is now premium pro high-end lighting.
Right, but it's the same. It essentially they're under the umbrella, right?
Yeah, I would imagine they're like the same people. It's just, now they're trying to really differentiate. Amaran, in my opinion, Amaran's the new Aperture. They're going to be where all the wild, crazy, fun stuff is. And not that Aperture won't be, but Aperture is going to now really, is my guess, that they're really going to start focusing on like rental grade equipment.
Yes. They're going to go in the same space as Light Gear, Airy, to a degree, light panels. light panels.
Yep.
Right. Yeah,
Yep.
got it.
A friend of mine who rents and owns multiple Red cameras and all that stuff is now like on board with where they're at as an example. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see pro tubes, pro mats, just a pro version of everything that we're seeing in the Amaran. But the Amaran is where that crazy, wild, affordable stuff's going to be.
Right. Okay. Well, I think on the camera front, one thing that I would say is if we're going to see something from Canon, it's clearly going to be 8K. I personally don't think that NAB is the right show to release new iterations of mirrorless cameras. What's right and wrong means nothing, but it just doesn't historically tend to be that show. So I would expect to see cinema cameras at that show.
Yeah.
Even if they're lower end, more like C70 style, I would think that baseline of about a $5,000 US, those types of cameras and up is what we would see. Panasonic could surprise us. We've talked about Panny a lot and whether or not they will come out with something in that $5,000 to $10,000 range. It would be a huge surprise to me if we saw something new from Fuji, though not impossible. And I do think that, again, if anybody's coming out with anything right now, 8K is the story. Obviously, Blackmagic surpassed that a long time ago with their 12K camera, but I think that we have the best chance of seeing a new camera from Blackmagic, even though there isn't a lot of rumor mill going on in that space. And I don't know what else. I mean, I do feel like Canon could come out with something. I'm not privy to anything at all. What would Sony come out with? I can't see them coming out with anything right now.
Well, both Sony and Canon, I could see them doing something that they haven't done in a long time, which is decent crop sensor cameras. Sony, I'd love to see them do an FX3, but with a, an APS-C sensor, because they have all these 6K+ sensors and then garbage, 8-bit processing. So that could be kind of sick. I think on a previous show I mentioned it'd be cool if they did an FS3, FS5 Mark III, I guess, and then FS7 Mark III. Is that how that would go? They have Mark IIs, the FS cinema cameras, right? Yeah, and then make an FS3, a tiny little successor, like a Pro A6600, I guess. That could be cool. It would be sweet if Canon made a baby C70. Someone was talking in here, about a C100 Mark something, like a like a C50.
Yeah,
and it's
that's been rumored for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, just give us like think 1DC or even this R5C, but maybe it's a 4K only, Super 35, or APS-C sensor. No XLR, no ND, but it doesn't overheat. That'd be kind of nice. Just a basic. I think there's room for that. No frills, video geared, and like an R7C or something like that.
Yep. I still think Fuji could come out with a little digital cinema camera with those beautiful zooms that they have. They've got 2 of them that are fantastic. And, can you imagine if they put contacts on those and they figured out AF and they did AF versions of those? That would also be pretty sick. But I'm not saying they're going to do that.
Do you think they'll ever do primes?
Cinema primes?
Do you think they'd ever mess with that? Yeah.
I mean, in the broadcast world, well, I mean, that's where their bread and butter is in the broadcast world.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's where they're making it. I don't know. I mean, in those little zooms that they have, with many mounts now, the 18 to 55 and the 50 to 150, those 2 lenses, they're just rock stars. I mean, they're lightweight. I know they're not full frame, but I also think that when you're talking about Super 35, there's still room in that market. There's been a lot of chatter for many years that Arri has a new sensor, that they've even announced that they were going to come out with a new Super 35 millimeter sensor. I don't know. So I hope we get some surprises. It makes shows like this a lot more exciting. It's the thing for me in the lighting world right now is we've gotten to the point, just like with cameras, is they're so good overall. There's some misses out there, but overall they're so good, and the price point has become so reasonable. I mean, just talking about Aperture as a company, that color panel that you reviewed, I mean, it's less than $400 US. It's an amazing amount of light for the dollars that you're spending comparative to even 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
So is there anything that would really get me excited in the lighting world? I don't know. I mean, there's better versions of what we have right now, but is there going to be a huge step? Does anybody have any feelings on that? Like, what would get us excited?
With lighting?
Little stuff. Oh, you mean general?
FS or
generally,
F7
or
Mark
lighting.
II?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
To me, it's little stuff. It's stuff that would be at the back of Central Hall that would excite me. So someone, and we've talked about this many times. So right now I'm trying to figure out this very lightweight using the R6s or maybe R5s. We've just got a big job in doing a massive pile of offshore wind farms. And we're just trying to put kit together for all of that. And just the timecode thing. Just someone please come up with something that works and that's simple and that uses GPS. That thing that was on Kickstarter that just disappeared. Someone just do that, please. Yeah. There's all these. I mean, really, what we really want is cameras to actually have that built in using the GPS clock. That's just the obvious way of doing it, because there's all these things around, like the little zoom recorder. And Atomos use that. What's it called? That sync system that they use that uses the Bluetooth.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
but it's compatible with those two things.
Blue
absolute. Blue Sync is it? Anyway, but that is only compatible with those products and almost nothing else.
Yeah.
Which it may get built into cameras at some point, but isn't. Just some decent wireless, easy timecode thing. The technicals are good, but it's not perfect. So just that for me would be
right. Like, what the heck? It's time.
It's not that complicated
with the sun, but we know the maths, right? That's what's blowing. If you really dig into timecode, there's like no perfect solution still. If you spend, there's ways to go about it, but if you really look at it, it's like when people break down all the options, they're like, well, this mostly works, but if this happens, then you're off. It's like, we know what frame rate, we know how seconds work. Can't we just make something that works? And it's
it's a clock. How complicated can it? So,
I know, yeah.
So there's two R6s that we shoot together with quite a lot at the moment. Now, the way we're getting those close and then just tweaking it in is essentially just resetting time code on a 3, 2, 1. Say one person does it with their thumbs, you reset the time code.
Right.
That thing, the drift on it after even half a day is insane.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same model camera.
Right.
Like, we're not talking about these syncing with third-party things. We think about these two identical cameras have lost sync with each other after 4 hours. And not by a small amount, by like a really noticeable... And so it surely... And this is why the GPS thing seemed to me like such a genius idea. That's an incredibly accurate clock, which is just feeding to everything that they can just keep themselves pinged to all the time. So many cameras have the GPS receiver built into them. Not enough, but that should be an easy thing for manufacturers to get behind and do. There's clearly some reason why they haven't done it. Yeah, because it would seem to be we're obviously oversimplifying this.
Sure.
There's something we've not considered clearly, and I don't think it's just a commercial thing. Yeah. I think this isn't people holding back or. And the same with that Kickstarter thing. It disappeared. Why?
Yeah. Let's say, correct me if I'm wrong. If you have, let's say, 6 cameras, and you somehow manage to hit record on all 6 exactly at the same time, down to the like sub millionth millisecond,
right?
Mm-hmm.
in theory, after 8 hours, if you stop them all at the exact same time, they would be perfectly in sync, right? Am I wrong?
They won't.
In theory, all of them are shooting at 23.98.
In theory, in theory.
So,
but
how is it? How come we can't like connect a cable? Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is like, imagine if you just hit record and let them all run all day long.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying you should. I'm just trying to like think through a solution here. So let's say you were able to do that and just record for 24 hours or whatever on 6 cameras. They're all perfectly in sync. You connected them with some magical cable at the beginning of the shoot, and then found a way to like stop and start, but there's some kind of clock going, which is timecode that I just described. Timecode. I don't know. It just seems insane to me that something as simple as a number that's counting up at a consistent rate, that this is a problem that we have.
It's the accuracy of the clocks within the cameras that's the problem. So
which camera and flash spent
computer clocks. They're computer clocks. It's
I
not
know.
Like we're all winding up some ancient thing that's this one's slow.
And it appears that this isn't as simple as it appears to make a really accurate clock. Because it's
right.
I know whatever it is that they use, but but this is why the GPS thing's great, because what it needs to constantly resync itself,
right,
to something, which is a timecode box. And if you're working with broadcast cameras and you're working with cameras that are all designed to work in sync and they've got timecode in, and you're in that environment, it's great. There's loads of options, but for certain things where you really are wanting to use small cameras, it's really difficult. Or you end up, and the things like the tentacle boxes are great; they work very well, but you end up losing your audio input. So you're then having to go out to an external audio recorder, which obviously is what we'd all love to be doing all the time anyway. And I've been looking at putting together something using a Mix Pre 3, and just not that you can buy them.
Good luck getting one.
Because there's
well,
no
you know why you
anywhere.
can't.
Yeah,
well, you can't because, it's because of the chip shortage, and they've literally, Sound Devices has said, we're going to stop making the Mix Pre 3 too, and we're only going to make the 6 and the 10 because it's essentially the same exact box. So you're going to spend a couple $100 more. They have literally just stopped making the 3 because of the chip short. So, which is a lovely box. Though, in all honesty, the 6 is not that much bigger. It really isn't physically that much bigger. But I think the 3 is the right box for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Well, first of all, best comment so far from Kit, which is in which Cameron Flash spent 45 minutes talking about timecode discrepancies, which is amazing. And Bryce, it isn't really Genlock we're talking about, because Genlock is really so that your cameras stay in phase with each other. They don't go out of phase. So let's say you're shooting a live event and you have 6 cameras. The reason you use Genlock is because when you press record on those 6 cameras, they might press record it, even if the timecode's in sync, the frames going by may not be exactly in sync with each other. So if you switch cameras and you don't have Genlock, then you could come into a partial or part of the previous frame or a later frame. And Genlock basically syncs the frames themselves as opposed to the time code. So that's kind of the purpose of Genlock. But it's, to me, the issue is how I'm not going to nip it in the bud. To me, it's insane how few devices actually have time code. You buy that Zoom, all the Zoom boxes, it's like you can't even switch between rec run and free run and just set time of day. That, like, how complicated is that? Forget that they're not in sync and they drift. Why can't you just put frickin' time code into every one of these boxes so you can do rec run, start, stop, and you can do free run and then set it to whatever you want it to be? I don't get it. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
And the drift thing, I don't totally understand. You would think at this point you could have it not drift, but obviously there's.
I mean, how people put another way? Why can we all put let's say we all go to Enemy, we put all our iPhones on the table and open up the clock app. Why are they all the same?
But they're syncing.
Why?
They're syncing to the cellular network.
Sure, they're syncing to something, but
why can't they put that into the audio devices then?
Exactly.
I'm not asking for
from an external reference point that it just needs to keep coming back to.
Right.
That's the thing.
Or just a box that you bring on set, you plug all your cameras into, it syncs them all once, and you're done for the rest of the day until you maybe turn them off. I can understand that, but I don't know. It just is stupid. It's dumb. Come on.
So why can't we just put cell phone technology? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, every iPhone and every Android device that you take out of your pocket has the same fucking time on it. Let's just be honest. It's the same time. And we're not talking about losing power and your stove time goes off. I mean, they could figure this thing out. Come on.
But the GPS, that's the key, because the whole so the way that is calculating, particularly with altitude, is the time that it takes for that. So that's incredibly accurate. That clock and that satellite is then bouncing stuff off. That's all there. And that, as I keep going back to that Kickstarter, was using that system. It seemed like a good idea, although it was a very clunky implementation of it. Anyway, my little wish list at the moment.
And I love 32-bit float. I love some of the things like noise assist. I mean, quite honestly, Zoom is doing some great stuff. These MixPre 2 boxes from Sound Devices, can they get a lot better? They could become a little more intuitive for people who are not familiar with audio equipment, but they're so dang good. It's getting really good.
Yeah, they're really darn good. Actually, Jem and I were talking offline. It'd be great if they made a MixPre 2 or MixPre 1.
Yes.
Remember the Sound Devices had that little one, which was way more expensive than the MixPre 3. What was that? That everyone had if you were like fancy pants, big spender.
Yep.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Smaller and newer.
Not the 6. Is it the 633, 644? There was one box that they had that was a mixer recorder. But
Sound Device 302 portable. No, that's not it.
I mean, I would be happy. Let's say you take the MixPre series and you created a really small box. It had 2 XLR 1/4-inch inputs. It also allowed you to do, you got to have a 3.5 millimeter input, and then you had a camera out.
Channels.
Yeah, and then you put noise assist in there, but allow it to be activated on both channels. That is frustrating that when you get the license, it's only one of your channels to use it. I mean, there's not a lot more. But then I was just about to buy for a client the Zoom, what is it called? The F3, the new one, the little tiny one. And you and I were talking about it, Caleb.
Right.
It has no gain features. It doesn't have traditional levels. I was watching Curtis's video, and then you're hooking up through Bluetooth, and there's a dongle for the frickin' Bluetooth. Way too complicated. Like, let's keep it simple. I want a 32-bit float. I want 2 inputs, 1 output to camera. It would be great if there was also, an output XLR 1/4-inch out. That would make it very useful for going to a board or something like that, which would be awesome. Yeah, I don't know.
So could you use the, what is it? The Zoom F2?
Maybe.
Doesn't that have that stuff?
Zoom F2 does. $200. They're so inconsistent, and so are all the companies. Tascam as well. It's like you've got Timecode, but it's just rec, run, start, stop. So every take is set to 0000000, and then you can't change it. And then you've got your camera set to time of day, and it's just really annoying. It just slows things up in post. Hold on. What's
this little guy? You said there's no output on the F2, F3?
No, there is an output, but the weird thing about that box is, first of all, because they're trying to simplify the product, it's only 32-bit float. There's no gain functions. There may be ways that you can change the gain for the output or the levels going out of it to a camera, but it just seemed way too complicated to put in the hands of somebody else and say, here's your box to handle your audio. Yeah. I love the form factor, little like that. But I don't. I also has no pots, like not having a pot to adjust your levels and things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, let's get into the chat here and let other people come in. There's been some great comments here overall. F6 looks great, but it's bigger and Andrew, I don't. F6 is also a little weird on timecode too, isn't it? Maybe it's not. Maybe not the F6.
No, the F6 is good on timecode.
It's proper.
Yeah, it's just got other things that aren't quite right. It was that and you just knew. I don't know. I think that I would always regret having not gone for the mix pre over it. Things just like little quality things, like all the reviews I haven't touched either of them, but just looking at all the reviews, they all say the pots on them are horrible. They just feel like they're going to break.
The zooms.
And
yeah.
Timecode and Flask, Michael said.
So,
go ahead.
While we wait for questions to roll in, if anyone has a question, let us know.
Not about timecode, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, okay, so we don't have much about the show, but you mentioned, we were talking about like what's left now that everything's amazing, essentially.
Yeah.
Ben brought up timecode. We talked about that for about 25 minutes. So what else? What are those things that you wish or want to see in the back of Central Hall? Like for me, it's modifiers, really creative modifiers.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have these giant frames, and there's kind of a standard, right? We have 4x4, 6x6, 8x8, 12x12, etc. For me, it'd be like really creative, simple ways to mount that without bringing a truck.
Yes. Collapsible,
super
things
creative
that size.
Yeah, or like something that doesn't mar walls, but you can run like a line of cord across a room and hang a 12x12 without bringing in like a ton of gear. Modifiers and some way to recreate a softbox without bringing a giant softbox. Like how can I get a 60 plus inch, essentially a 6x6 softbox? I don't know. Book lights that are even easier than the gem, the gem book. What's it called?
Book light. C47 book light. Yeah.
C47.
No, true.
There it is. C47 book light.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. What else? Is there anything else you can think of? Obviously, making everything in our industry smaller and lighter and stabilized. But aside from that,
lighting wise, I was very excited about fabric-based LED lighting solutions. And there was a couple of companies who were making them. And I'm not talking about mats. Those are fantastic. But the ones that practically crumple up. And when I think about like a sound blanket, really, like the black white ones from Vocal Booth to Go, which I have a bunch of, I've got a 6x6 in front of me. It would be pretty awesome if I could have a 6x6 fabric-based LED panel that felt diffused. And I had some control over it, because right now it's either, a lot of LED fixtures that are being made, like Sky Panels and some of the other ones, they have sections, and that's part of how the effects happen. Is you'll have like there's a grid here, 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 here. Think about it as like giant pixels, but there's like blocks of light, and it would be really great if we could have a 6x6, but it has blocks of light. So if all I want to do is light up one half of that, as opposed to the whole panel, I have control and I can actually create ratios that way. So I could say I've got a 6x6 thing sitting right in front of me right now. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Is I'm taking a light and I'm taking a light and I'm bouncing it off of essentially half of it. So if I wanted to, I could do it a little bit more or less. And if it was at least broken up into thirds, then I could say, I just want 1/3 of it to light up, and then the rest would just fall off. And it would be a pretty cool way of being able to very quickly light and actually light from camera side. Because we're constantly moving lights over here or side keying. But if we could just put a big thing behind the camera and just say, I only want to light up the top part of it or this part of it, and we had control. Nobody's done anything like that yet. That would be pretty exciting. And doable now. It's actually doable. So, I don't know. And then better grip, always. Cheap, but very effective. Like wall spreaders.
I feel like we have tons of stuff right now.
We do, but like wall spreaders are very specific, but there's not a lot of people making those. And could there be less expensive, durable, lightweight wall spreaders? And could people start making some of the stuff that we're using out of carbon fiber as opposed to other things so we could make kits lighter? I don't know. Stuff like that, maybe.
Carts. Super light, super cheap carts. There's still no reason on earth why those things cost what they do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. I saw someone said motorized production carts.
Yeah.
Yeah, carts. That's a good Kickstarter. Someone should like what are some companies that started as Kickstarters and now like super legit? That'd be a good one. Someone needs to be a cart company, film cart company. And just
Billy can make the crack. Billy can make the crack cart.
The crack cart.
I've just been chatting to Billy today, so we'll get him on the job. Yeah. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. The
Ovation or whatever. Ovation.
Yeah. There were a couple of companies, wasn't there, that started making something cheaper, but just not. But still, it's a little frame with some wheels and like 2 levels. How can it possibly be that much money?
Well, it's also what product category they're in. I mean, 360 grad saying I get my wall spreaders at a do-it-yourself store for half the price. If you start looking for products in other categories of things that are not in our industry, you can find a lot of products that are virtually the same that cost a quarter to a half the price. And there's not a lot of difference. There's a little bit of finesse or something that makes them for our industry. But the reality is, like you said, Ben, there's no reason why a kick-ass cart couldn't cost a third of what it does right now.
Right. And
like it'd be amazing if go ahead.
I've spoken to companies before about that make it's a company we were working with who make staging equipment, and they brought in this little cart. Bart's cart, that's genius. You need to get on that. But they brought in this little cart that had all the accessories, the legs for this staging stuff. I mean, that's brilliant. I bought one off them and have it in my garage now, which I keep various bits and pieces in. But their system was completely modular, and you could build a fantastic cart system off this. It's great, and I mean, maybe that's I've answered my own question. I should go and speak to them, and we just do it together.
Just do it.
There you go.
Get yourself in some trouble, and then you can complain to me about it in a year, because you know how that goes.
All someone has to do is make a dank cart and just walk around NAB with it, with a Aerial X on top, showing off how it works.
Yep.
Just make it happen,
But that is the thing, that a modular system, because a lot, it's quite easy to do. That you can then put all these mounts on it. You can put lights.
Yeah.
You can have it. You see what those guys do that are covering NAB. They wheel a little trolley around that they've got with a pole with a light on it, and they've got a camera on a hi-hat on the top of it or something. So that's easy to do. There's definitely something to be done with all that.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not terribly expensive to make something solid. Chris, the all new dank card from DSLR Video Shooter.
Amazing.
In
the Rubbermaid carts are amazing, by the way.
Go into making gear.
Oh yeah, like the Rubbermaid stuff is great. If you want like hampers for production, the ones that they make for hotels and stuff, the Rubbermaid carts, they're amazing. And you can buy them as just all open, or you can buy them with dividers. There's some great stuff out there, you know.
I mean, because at the end of the day, and I've actually someday I'll make a video on it, but essentially I'm going to build a cart using speed rail.
Yeah.
So you can buy these connectors, and you just take plywood and speed rail, and you build, 4 legs, top and bottom.
Yep.
And that's it. But if someone could just make those is 2 trays. At the end of the day, it's 2 trays with some, with 4 corners or legs, and then just some way to have 1/4-20s or 3/8, whatever, all over the place. And then anywhere you can, throw on a NATO rail or a, random clamp, and just super flexible cart. It's not like, you don't have to build
Small Brown Fox
$3,000
Yeah, we get salty, getting salty today. Now Timecode is more interesting than carts. It's amazing. Innovative does make good carts though, and I would like to see an innovative cart, but that quality for half or a third the price. Yeah, they're great. And
I mean, last we talked about carts, which sorry, small brown fox was. I think we left it with that Pro Aim had a decent cart.
Now that's right. You brought it up. Trolleys, camera and carts. That was like a year ago. No, it was. I thought it was a cart.
I bought one of those little. What are they called? The ones that pull out, that fold up, and then they've got the two ends on. So I found this German
Olympia one. Olympia. The ones I have.
Mine. I can't remember what the brand's called. It's all green.
Oh, you were telling us about that. Yeah.
So the wheels are the same diameter spindle. The cart's great. I use it all the time, but it's not. It's kind of a pull stuff out of the van in boxes and pull it into the venue cart. That's what that does.
Unbelievable. All right, I think
because small. No, I'm gonna make this happen. Just because small brown fox is. Get out of here. I don't need your 10%.
There it is. How much is that thing?
These guys.
Carts and casks. Wait, now we're getting really morbid. This is getting carts and casks. That's a little macabre.
Okay, so we got a couple here. This one that's not bad for 16.
1600?
Yeah, but click on that thing.
It's still not. It's still obviously. I know. Yes.
What on that thing warrants that costing $1,600? I don't.
Well, you got massive. I mean, price out 12-inch casters.
Yeah.
Man. They're not cheap.
Yeah, those wheels alone, that's like half the cost right there in the wheels for sure.
Seriously.
I mean, innovative, they do it weird spelling, right?
Chris, its casks are going to caskets. We're already on their way. Cameras and caskets now. Unbelievable.
Like, what does this thing cost?
Too much.
Yeah, twice as
much.
How much? Now this one folds up. I don't know if the other one folds up.
Yeah, and the Scout is great. I mean, all the stuff they make is really good, but geez, man.
Yeah. Oh, this one folds up pretty cute. Look at that.
Bart's carts. Let's go Bart's carts.
Bart's carts. Right, Fix it, Bart.
Bart's carts.
All right, so we've got Timecode and we've got carts. What? And modifiers.
Chris was drunk when he was talking to Slavic about stuff. Yeah. So if you can't remember it, then what can you say? Okay. So what are we gonna? So we want some cheaper grip and support stuff. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see a lot in the tripod space. We might see a couple of things, but it's not going to be that exciting. Cameras we've already discussed. Lighting we've already discussed. Are we going to see anything that's going to be innovation-wise in audio at this point?
Hopefully. That's definitely... Someone mentioned earlier on that we have a lot of room to grow in, like, wireless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the future is where things are kind of going, where we're recording on the source device and just transmitting something to keep sync to the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't use audio that is recorded on camera from the Rode Wireless Go's anymore after hearing what's recorded on the actual device.
It's
normal wireless items.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
what
But I'm
were you going to say?
That with like wireless in general. It just sounds like complete bottom.
Yes. And what
compared to a recorded device on a person. So let's do that, more of that. But it's so dumb that someone can own the technology of recording something.
I hate that. And so that to me,
whole thing is like ridiculous. That seems like illegal.
I know. I
own putting water in a bottle. That's mine. You guys have to run it and pay me if you want to use bottles.
That's what happens when you have a country run by lawyers.
But the patent that they have, is stifling innovation. Because there's so many companies out there that could be producing great audio solutions, and they're just being stopped from doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's I think you're right. I think there's huge room to grow in the wireless space, but it's going to take a big company with a lot of money behind it to produce something that's going to move us from where you and I are thinking, Caleb, of the quality of audio right now in the wireless space. It's not that there isn't great wireless, right? You have Electrosonics and things like that.
Yeah,
they're making some great things.
Pay for it.
But I think there's, a Rode could potentially do it, especially if they get around the patents. Deity could potentially do it. Sound devices could get into some of that stuff potentially. You've got Tentacle, and it's the preamps are huge in terms of what you're doing, and it's technology like noise assist, which I think is somewhat unique to sound devices. This real-time noise reduction. I mean, that's what I'm using in here. I've got a fan going crazy over here on my MacBook Pro right to my left. It's literally, I can touch the computer, and because of noise assist on that Mix Pre 2, it's just in real time eliminating most of that noise. I think there's a lot of room in audio if we get rid of that stupid patent.
I think Rode's close. If they made a little docking station for their Go's.
Yeah. They're the kind of company that could do this to the patent too. They could just sort of do a finger up. They could pull an Apple, Apple does that. They get sued in Europe for something, and it's like, oh, it's $50 million. Fine, we'll just take the hit because we're not changing our whole product. It's a lot cheaper for us to just pay the $50 million.
That'd be interesting to see this, because this whole thing with them, with the Lightning and the USB-C thing. So whether the next iteration of the iPhone ends up going USB-C, because they're going to get hammered for that here. So the EU are trying to say this is ridiculous. We've all got millions of cables and redundant chargers and this stuff, and it's really wasteful. It's shitty for the planet.
Oh, that's right.
But also, technologically wise, it's shit what they're using. It would be much better if they used USB-C, because
they're doing it on their iPads already. They should standardize.
So I think they. I would be surprised if they don't. Sorry, I was off on a tangent.
No, I agree. Brandon, next challenge, we don't know. I will say that there's been some discussions between the three of us, and we will be back next week, but we are starting to think about whether or not it makes sense for the show. I know there was a comment right at the top of the show about paying to have a weekly show. I think that I'm definitely going to have a weekly live stream on this channel, but I kind of feel like, again, this goes to sort of the whole thing with the fact that there's so much technology out there and we have so much of it. And if you look at trends, even what we were talking about, Caleb, about watch time on channels, people are not watching reviews as much as they used to. People are, not necessarily engaging with certain types of content as much as they used to. And it might be beneficial for us to consider going to more of like a once a month for just Camera and Flask, and having a challenge and, breaking up that hour or an hour and a half, and then using the time on the other Wednesdays to deal with other stuff, like people who are interested in film photography and other subjects. So that's something we have discussed, but I would definitely like to do another challenge. And what is that? Oh yeah, there it is. There it is, kid.
And these are the seals that came. So I bought this for next to nothing in the end. This was like $60.
Yes, you told me. Yeah.
But the seals need something. So I bought a seal kit, but then my cat distributed the little box of seals all over the house. So I'm now trying to piece them back together and work out how many things there are, and then we'll see if we can get this one going.
For goodness sake. Yeah, I hope so.
I'm kind of now wishing that I spent $200 and got one from Japan. But
yeah, I don't know what a join button is. I will say that for this channel, one of the things that I know that I don't want to do is reviews. I don't want people sending me equipment, and what I want to do is just talk about the things that I'm interested in. Part of that is like just upgrading this setup and having discussions about that. And it is
Perhaps this eBay company in France that was selling it on eBay. I can't remember.
You mean seals. For you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been asked about where I got the seals from for it.
Yeah, I mean,
eBay. They did all sorts of cameras, but
eBay generally is the place to go for the seal kits, for sure. in the US as well. So, yep. I might join you, 360 grad. We'll go to Japan. Let's do it.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that we're
I don't
gonna
know.
figure it out.
Challenge-wise, we'll have to figure out another challenge. I mean, I'd even be down for another kit challenge, even if it's one we've kind of already done before.
Yeah,
it's just interesting.
I would. I like doing that. And would there be a particular category, Caleb, that you think would be great?
I think we should go 1996 eBay using that Wayback Machine.
No, Jesus Christ.
We only can do it. We can only do it if Ben is on a train headed out of the country with 2G connection. No. Then we can. I'm just joking. No, I think we should just do. I don't know if we ever did the Oh no, Jem and I had mentioned on a stream. I think Ben was out. I think there's so many interesting things on eBay. And Jem and I were like, a really easy challenge would be pick a week or a month and just, kind of see what's out there, and then pick a dollar amount and just see what you can get. You don't have to buy anything, but just, you've got $2,000. What could you find on eBay? That's kind of interesting. Could be film photography, can be anything. Or we do another B&H, kit situation. Oh boy.
I'm in for the mini DV. This is a mini DV challenge for Andrew. We'll do we have to shoot everything on a DVX 100, which would be fun.
I still have a mini DV SD camcorder.
That's right. Are you both okay for next Wednesday? And then we can start to figure out how we're going to structure Cameron Flask and what our next challenge is going to be and stuff like that?
Yes. Just confirming here. Next Wednesday is good.
Okay. So let's
possibly.
That's Tuesday.
Possibly.
I'm staying in my folks are coming. My mum and my stepdad are coming over next Wednesday, and then we're staying in Prague Wednesday night. And I think we're in an apartment, so as long as that's got a room away from where everyone's sleeping, then yes, I'm pretty sure it will. So
it's okay if you're a little drunk. We won't blame you for that, because you're hanging out with family and all that fun stuff. So as it should be. So let's do next Wednesday. Let's talk about the ideas behind Cameron Flask. Let's talk about a new challenge that may be a month out, 3-4 weeks out, and figure that out with everybody. And as we kind of wrap up the show, is there anybody in here who, besides Slavic, who's coming to NAB, who can sway at least Caleb and I to come down for a couple of days? My only agenda is to see what's happening in the industry and see people, and we'll obviously do a follow-up after the show.
My only agenda is to see what's going on in the industry.
Unbelievable. I got plenty of money from the super chats for you to come by, and we'll go to Total Wine and More. And
I would tell you, I would so love to
go into the More room.
Yeah, exactly.
I've just signed up to do a 1 week's training course starting that weekend as well, which I absolutely have to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Cine Gear? Maybe do Cine Gear.
I would like to do that too. I'm still very bummed it's not going to be on the lot and it's going to be at the convention center. The reason I would go down is if I have a reason to for my client in LA. That would be sort of how I'd tie it in. I'm definitely not doing both of them, and I think that NAB actually may be the cheaper of the two options. So Caleb, if for some reason, we'll keep in touch about it.
Yeah.
All right, kids. It's been beautiful. Final words, Caleb, for the week.
Well, here we are, 5:59. It's been a while. Good to see you guys. All the names, all the regulars, you know who you are. We'll come up with some content ideas and get back to you guys next time. And thanks for hanging out with us for another hour of Cameron Flask.
Or Timecode and carts. And Ben, anything from you at all?
No, just lovely to see everyone again. It's been a little while.
You.
And the two of you, just always lovely to hang out.
Yeah. And thanks for what you're doing, by the way. And anybody who's helping with the, but you've done stuff more than Caleb and I, and I'm not speaking for Caleb, but I'm just saying we're not driving to the border of Ukraine and picking up orphans. So that's a big deal.
On that, just things worked out in that you were in a position to be able to help in a very specific way that just things fell around. That was more to do with other people doing loads to do that. And you were just a bit of being able to connect people to help out.
It's very humble, but just understand that there's a lot of people who are in the position to help that don't. So it is.
And there's also a lot of people who want to be able to do something to help and, can't.
Yeah.
I feel very happy that I was able to do something. So in a very small way.
Rick says work on our lighting. I don't know who's lighting, but I appreciate that. We will. We'll keep trying. Always. It's a never-ending learning.
Every day's a school day.
Yeah. All right, kids. Thank you again. We'll see you next Wednesday, and we'll figure this stuff out. All the best.
Cool.
Take care.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
What? I was peeking. How am I peeking? What kind of... All right, Rick. You pain him. No, I'm just kidding. See ya.